Greetings, guys. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Monette, and this is my channel, Evolve with Monette. For those of you that are new here, I'm a professional intuitive empath, and we are going to jump right into the title of the video today. This is something that came up in the last few days with some of my clients as we were dealing with a lot of themes as we are in this retrograde of many. So we have Mercury and we have Venus, and we were dealing with a lot of themes regarding exes. And the thing that came up, for those of you that are new here, I'm a professional intuitive empath, if I didn't say that. The thing that came up is that the new supply is like Cece's Pizza. This is just something that my angels kind of dropped into my head, and I wanted you to understand that what you're dealing with, and it's as such a it might even be uncomfortable to hear, and my empaths listening, you might even feel sorry. But they describe the new supply as a Cicis pizza chain. So I don't know if any of you guys have that where you are, but in the South, it's a big thing. And it's a subpar pizza chain. It's not Pizza Hut, or Papa John's or whatever you might like as your more premier or premium. In the area that I live in, there's a pizza chain called Bizarro's, and it's not like a huge restaurant buffet, but they make really good pizza. That's akin to New York pizza. It's really one of the best. So everybody in every region has their own place. But if you don't have that place, for most of the South and the Midwest, there is this place called Cicis Pizza. And I guess they do what they're supposed to do. And the advert is all about very cheap pizza prices, and it's a buffet as well. I guess you can do carry out and take out and other things, so I can't imagine why. But it's a buffet, and guys, I'm not even hiding my snobbiness. If you work there, if you love it, then my hat's off to you, and you can just click off the video. Not for any reason, just because I don't want to just sit here and insult you, but I'm going to tell you that the new supply is like the Cece's buffet. If I remember going into those places when I was younger, before I went to culinary school, before I ever took a serve safe course for the NRA, and the NRA is the National Restaurant Association, not Rifle Association. So that is something that if you're in culinary school, it's an association that you become part of, and you have to keep up your credentials and test. And in fact, I do testing to this day. I go to my college where I went to school, and I test and keep all my certifications up for whenever we come out of this pandemic. If I should ever cater again, I have everything up to date. In any case, when you start taking some of these tests, what you will realize is how disgusting buffets are, because one of the things that you do is you assess your HACCP plan to have a restaurant, which is your hazard analysis critical control points, regarding making sure that foodborne illnesses don't happen. How do you treat an outbreak? How do you treat bloodborne pathogens? Should someone cut themselves? How do you treat any illnesses that happen around the restaurant? So there's a lot more to culinary school than just flipping crepes and making beautiful plates. It's really about the business side and about the safety side of keeping us healthy in food service prep. Well, now that I've got my nerd part out of the way, I stopped utilizing buffets when I went to culinary school. One of my professors taught me, and he was a Virgo, and he was such a germaphobe, and I worked with him very closely because I was in student government, and I was the president of culinary class and all this other stuff. So we worked together a lot, and so I got to know him personally. And this was a guy who was just really brilliant and smart. But one of the things that he did was he taught us very detailed how disgusting, so not to turn your heart off of it. Now in the pandemic, I think we all kind of are aware about our germs and a lot more cognizant. But before the pandemic ever happened, that's something that Chef Solomon taught me, and I will never forget it. And I remember being in class and taking these quizzes, and just just being stomach turned at the disgustingness of buffets when I understood it from the germ warfare standpoint, not just did the food stay hot enough, was it cold enough, excuse me. So it was a lot. I'm even like getting a little nauseous thinking about it. So that steered me away. Well, Cece's is a pizza chain that has a buffet, and they're renowned for it. I think for like $4.99 or $5.99, the prices might have gone up because of the supply chain. Now, I don't know, we haven't been there in years, but for $4.99 or $5.99, you can go in and you can feed your family. I think it's like 4.99 or 5.99 a plate or a person, and you can feed your family, and it comes with a drink. Here's the thing about these buffets: they are disgusting. Not just because of what I know from a professional, classically trained chef standpoint, but from observation. Am I right? Anybody that's gone into this place, especially in an afternoon rush or after a T-ball team has come in, or a minor league football team, or whatever the case, or a JV league football team, knows that you're not tempted to touch, that everything is kind of rife with disgust, and everything is oddly wet and sticky. This is so funny to me how my angels made the parallel to the new supply. So it's highly accessible, okay? One of the things that most divine feminines have is integrity, and they are not just letting anyone access them easily. And even if you're dealing with someone that was your masculine or your counterpart or your soulmate or your lover or you name it, there were usually some boundaries that you had that the Cicis Pizza Supply would not have ever had, would not have ever occurred to them to have, whether it's a man or a woman. The stickiness and the wetness of the floors always disgusted me. So that means from the bottom up, the ethos of the supply is slippery, meaning there is no grip there. There is just slip there. Things slip by easily. Consciences, good ideas, morals, and resistance, all very slippery with the new supply. There's a muddiness on some of the floors as well, and it's not just with a rain swell because people are spilling drinks and they're walking back and forth and there's kids. There's also a play area arcade that's also rife with germs, and we tested it as one of our projects in culinary school. It would absolutely horrify you to see the results come up on those little petri sticks that we had. It is one of the most disgusting places you could probably be, and that is where your masculine found himself quite happy, like a pig in shit. I'm saying this for somebody here who's in the beginning of this or in the middle of it, and they're still not reconciled with the fact that a person that you felt that you valued chose someone that was so disgusting to you. Now, here's the thing: we all have been under, especially if you're dealing with narcissist abuse, the thrall of a narcissist, the charm and the charisma of a narcissist. But some of the supplies and some of these new side chicks, forget about if it's a supply, literally have zero etiquette. I was gonna make a video once about the etiquette of the guma, meaning the guma is a root word regarding the other woman essentially, and or the mistress essentially, and this is the guma said in Italian, and everyone understood their place. Well, nowadays side chicks and new supplies don't want to stay in their place, they want to be in the way. That's another thing about Cece's Pizzas: there's always chairs that are like akimbo and out in the island walkway because the people that work there are getting minimum wage. Everything is low brow, the sauce is low brow, the cheese is subpar, the ingredients are subpar, the crust isn't exactly pizza like, it's pizza ish. And that's how I would compare the slices that are being served up from the new supply to you. It's not even anything that's like you. There's a resemblance. The new supply will often try to emulate you, but there is no comparison to your favorite New York pizza chain, right? No, Cece's Pizzas is no Bizarros or you name it for what you would consider your best pizza mom and pop or pizza chain in your particular region or country. The new supply is proud to be Cicis, though. That's the funny thing. Cicis is proud of their slogan. They're proud of their bargain basement prices. They're proud of their accessibility. They are easily accessed. Anyone can get in. There are no restrictions, no shoes, no shirt, no problem. Come on in, meaning that there are no rules. Now, here's something that's to be understood: a lot of us had our own set of rules, and with Cece's Pizza, there are no rules. I go back again to the sticky wetness of everything. One of the things that I noticed in my own personal journey was that the new supply was like willing to give themselves freely in inappropriate spaces and things. Now, that could be exciting. I'm not ever going to kink shame, but I realized that we were not the same, right? And I think that that's something that you might need to realize too. If you're in the beginning of it and you're thinking, what could I have done? What did they do? They did anything. Just like Cece's Pizza has zero standards and does anything, they did anything. That doesn't mean that they are not a business that stayed in business for many years and that filled and put butts in the chairs. Because when there's a good old bargain and a deal, everybody that has, wants to save a buck will be there. It's not about the people being there not having standards. It's about what CC's is offering up. CC's, it's the pizza slut. It's just that simple. And I just want you guys to understand that because so many of us wrestled with that. I sure know I did. And when I realized my angels were so funny, they're hilarious with me. And as I was counseling clients over the last few years, they just had me start calling the new supply CC. They were like, it is a CC's. It's as disgusting. It is not as appetizing. It's not satiating. It's not filling. It's not fulfilling. It's not a meal you remember. It's something that fills you up in the moment and then you're hungry later. That's often another aftermath of whomever groomed the new supply. The narcissist, your ex, even if it's not a narcissist and just a toxic person, will want to swing on by that best pizza chain again because it's no comparison. My favorite quote by Joanne the Scammer, we don't compete if we don't compare. Well, when you go to Cicis, you'll never be able to compare because they're not even really properly circulating the air. And yes, that's a fact. When we went and tested the restaurant, my chef had us observe that the air circulation was even poor and there was mildew that was in the ceilings and the tiles weren't cleaned properly. And you think, are you guys looking at that too? Yes, that's what proper serve safe technicians do. That's what someone who's a member of the National Restaurant Association has a responsibility to do. And I don't think that Cece's had a HACCP plan, that hazard analysis critical control point in place because the restaurant that we went to was an utter disgrace. And in fact, later ended up getting written up by the health department and getting like a D because they found live rodents and other accoutrements around the sauce and the paninis. It was interesting. My point is that you might be racking your brain and wringing yourself out and causing yourself to go into great amounts of doubt. But I want you to take a real good look at the new supply. I want you to take a look at all the things that she let slip by. Things that even when you saw the red flags that you didn't do, ways that she would contort herself and be a pick me, unlike you. She is Cece's. You are not. And that is something that will not be forgotten by your narc, your X-Men, your toxic ex-friend, your whomever. They will realize what they forfeited. And hopefully you'll get to the point of apathy where you no longer care. But at first, you have to go into a CC's. You actually have to be there. Examine the psyche of CC's. See all of the selections. And that's another thing. CC's offers up what seem like tasty convections, right? So many little selections, but it's all the same thing done differently. From the cinnamon rolls to the dessert pizza, I'm using air quotes here, to the multiplicities of pizzas where they just take off one ingredient, to the badly stored salad that's not up to temperature. Yes, we tested it. To the tepid dressings that are mixed and cross contaminated. That is what the new supply is. You hear the words I'm using, guys? To the flat soda machines that have mildew in the pipes that have never been cleaned outright, to the ice that has debris that's floating at the top because someone decided to use their hand and not their cup. Can we talk about what the new supply allows? And I don't know why I was so grossed out, but I was so grossed out, not just by the CCs, but by the way that the new supply went about introducing herself to me. CC's rolls out these campaigns and puts flyers in the mail. At least it used to many years ago when it was, a thing to do and when before we were pre-pandemic. The new supply will also want to flaunt herself and make herself known to you. She will fly in your face like she is magic, y'all. Like she is a Michelin starred restaurant. Like she is everything. The bee's knees with an A+ rating from the health department and multiple culinary degrees. The new supply fancies herself highly. She doesn't have introspection. She's not singing like Miley. I could almost see it. That mountain I'm climbing. The mountain she's climbing is of self deceit. And a lot of the women that I've counseled are like on bloody knees, like trying to figure out what they could do differently. Could you have slutted yourself out? Could you have been emotionally manipulative? Could you have been deceitful and dirty and filthy? Could you have been slippery and sticky? Are you wanting to be like Cece's? I'm not saying it to be mean, but I'm saying it because it's something that you need to take a look at. It's something that needs to be seen. We often compare ourselves because that's what the narcissist wanted us to do, was to be triangulated and be so intimidated of their new boo. But y'all, when I stepped back, I looked and I was disgusted. I wanted no parts of it. I couldn't get out fast enough. I was repulsed. I was repelled. It had the opposite effect that I know that my near do well narcissist wanted to have on me. She wanted me to see it and be full of envy because that's what she trafficked in. She found someone just as slippery, as dirty as she was. And together they made sweet, muddy, sticky, disgusting love. And both of them ended up filled with bugs, spiritually speaking, of course. What I will say is that that was not your course. You are a horse of a different color, of a different nature. You gallop the hell out of there. You do not want to be at Cece's Pizzas with the marinara smears. I, I just can't. Think about what I'm saying, guys. Cece's Pizza exists and it serves a function for some. But that is not the way we exist, Divine Feminine and Empath. That's not how we get it done. And you can enjoy it for a certain time, and when your budget fits, then maybe it's right. But we evolve in all ways. Do not linger and spend the rest of your days thinking that you were outwitted by a dimwit, that you got something that your angels purposely didn't want you to get, meaning that you didn't get the relationship that you thought you were after, or the connection that you thought you had, that you promised to each other, where things were going good, but really you were down bad. I look back at my Cece's Pizza days, and I would never return back to that place under any circumstances or in any way. And it's not because I'm a snob. It's because I did my test. It's because I did actually investigate and go peep and scope it out. And I thought, if this is what my whomever, quote, air quotes, big old air quotes here, is all about, then I want the fuck out. I felt like Nicki Minaj, ironically. My person was a Sagittarian energy, and Nicki Minaj is known for being quite diva ish and quite mean. But she has a song where she says, "You can't sit, hello, you can't sit with me and Gretchen." She's essentially making, homage to Mean Girls and various things. But the fact that the person that I knew associated with the CCs disgusted me, and I was like, I never want to deal with you just for having been adjacent to that person. Many of your people will want you to feel jealousy about who they choose over you. And if you really investigate their new boo, they are CCs. They are slippery, they are mildew filled, they are carrying airborne pathogens, bloodborne pathogens, spiritual diseases of all kinds. You do not want to be attached to those demons. Stop comparing yourself, girl. That's Cece's is a different lifetime in a different world. And again, all may have eaten there at some point, or we all may have thought that's the best that we could do. But I promise you, if you're on this channel, God has more in store for you. Do not tarry there. Do not cross compare, because you will cross contaminate. And that diminishes your chances at really being great, but inhabiting a place that has a few Michelin stars, or having some fine dining experience with people that aren't going to leave you with SARS, which is another airborne disease. You do not want to be at CC's. And you know what the greatest irony is? Is whoever abandoned you, lied to you, manipulated you, or betrayed you will find themselves also disgusted with the subpar offerings, the disgusting elements, the muddy and slippery surroundings of the place that they used to love to go, the place that they dived into. They will be disgusted when they realize that they abandoned you and that they are now in purgatory, forever stuck in the muck at Cicis. But it's cheap, and the narcissist is usually down on their luck. That's not our life. Just a little message, guys. A funny story about Cici's Pizza. That's the new supply. It's not for everybody, but it is for people that are fooled by fool's gold. It looks sparkly and shiny with the great prices on the low, and then they wake up and realize that there's no further low that they can go, that they got exactly what they had to have and bargained for, which was a very slippery, tricky deal. And the new supply can't wait to pop out from behind the corner, behind the wall, from under the table where the gum is stuck, to do the grand reveal. He or she picked me because I love to kneel. And I'm not just talking about sexual objectification, I'm talking about disgracing themselves again and again energetically, being prostrate before someone who was filled with negative energy. They wanted to kneel for that. You decided to get up off your back. You decided to brush yourself off. You were feeling like a pimp, divine feminine, divine masculine, and you brushed your shoulders off and left the toothless pimps and pimpettes to each other with great resolve. I think it was a brilliant solution. You never were supposed to be at CC's. It was just a window for you to peek in and then keep it moving. Anyway, wanted to share that with you. If you can relate, let me know. If you can't, I understand too. But stop letting the new supply get under your skin. When I put it in perspective a few years ago, I realized that I would never let the narcissist back in only because they had the kind of cooties that I couldn't scrub out, that I couldn't ignore. I wanted nothing to do with that slippery, mucky floor, with that gutter snipe, bottom feeding energy. I didn't want the subpar mozzarella that wasn't stringy, but that was clingy. That's what supplies are. Stage 5. We have healed our codependency, and that's how we stay alive. Let them be codependent and absolutely insane. Save yourself a lot of trouble. Reclaim your brain and your brain space. Cici's Pizza is an absolute disgrace. All right, guys, let me see if there's any comments here, and if not, let me clarify here. Skinny says, hello, Allie H. I used to work at Cici's Pizza. Oh, the visual. I mean, I tell no lies. That's one thing I will not do. I will not sit on this video and lie to you. Allie, can you corroborate that is, in fact, absolutely freaking disgusting? True, true, true. It's all the same dough. Like I said, I tell no lies. Oh, hell no, says Allie H. What state is this in? My Cici's Pizza was in Florida. And Simbala says, this is so relatable. Experienced this some years ago. I don't know if you experienced Cici's Pizza or the supply and your narcissist trying to throw them in your face like a disgusting wet piece of dough. I experienced that years ago too, Simbala, if that's what you experienced. Or maybe you actually saw the wet dough being thrown around at a Cici's Pizza. Either way, both things are traumatizing. And my angels have given me such a sense of humor about it. I can't believe that I was ever upset about it. And I want that to be your reality too, whoever is listening. If you are dealing with the new supply and they are shiny and new, and your narcissist is like, it's the best thing I ever did do. My God, the gut rot they will get from ingesting the filth. It is what it is. And here's the thing. They're cut from the same ilk of the same cloth. And then I know that's hard to digest for some of us, puns all intended here, because we think, well, I was with this person, so was I like the new supply? No, you were not. A lot of us are empaths, and so we were doing a lot of healing, a lot of emotional revealing. We were helping the narcissist do shadow work, or so we thought. It was an important lesson for us to realize that we cannot fix someone who is so easily bought. I once had someone say that to me about me not knowing my value years ago when I dated somebody years ago in my early 20s, and they weren't wrong. They said to me, "You are so easily won." And I thought, "What do you mean?" And I had to really look at the relationship that I was in where my self-esteem was low and there were things I didn't know. And years later, years and years later, as we were approaching our 40s, I watched the narcissist that I knew be like I was in my 20s, and I was embarrassed for her. You were so easily won. Cicis Pizza is a bargain, but it's not value for money. That's another thing Chef Solomon taught me. What is a value? What is a trend? What is perception of quality to the customer? Is a dollar burger value? I mean, it can be. Can it be excellent and steaming hot and prepared properly? But there are some places that always skimp on quality. And as Allie H., who worked there, just to testify to, Cece's Pizza will make do with what makes do. And so will the new supply. Do not compare yourself. You are nothing like them. And mostly, a lot of them knew very much about you and wanted to do the pick me stuff of knocking you out of the park because they wanted to win. People with borderline personalities, and a lot of new supplies do traffic in that. Sam Venkin, Professor Sam Venkin, just put up a new video about borderline personalities. Take a look. If you want to understand what a borderline personality looks like, Trisha Paytas, who is a YouTube personality here, self-diagnosed and been diagnosed as well. Borderline personality, bipolar disorder, very much a lot of your new supplies are that. So there's a hypersexuality and then an absolute willingness to destroy someone's life if someone's not giving them their way, an absolute willingness to destroy and rip someone away from their family. This is playing out here on YouTube with H3H3, which is a very famous podcast with Gila and Ethan. But anyway, if you know, you know. And research that if you don't know, or you could just Google Patricia Paytas problematic, and you could probably see who the new supply is. The new supply in my situation reminded me very much of Trisha Paytas. Absolutely unhinged, 100% borderline, and really insane. Needed to be medicated, actually deranged, and of utter zero value. No offense if you love Trisha. Some people stand her and think she's a queen, but I think that she's vile, disgusting, and mean. And often the new supply is that too. And I think that that's a karmic balance for many of you to understand that your narcissist, whatever he was, woman or man, needed to have that experience, to have a mirror and a parallel of what they often and very much are seeking to be. That new supply meets them with the same energy. Empath, the reason that we had to be swept out of the way, we had to be taken off of those disgusting sticky floors, is because we needed to close the door on that chapter of our life because we were never supposed to be there. We would never have gotten that level of disgusting treatment, abuse, verbal or otherwise, right, because that's not who we are. But the new supply, the Cicis Pizza, has the lowest of bars. And it turns out that your narcissist ex loves to limbo. How low can you go? How low can you go? Look back in that dirty window at Cece's Pizza, and I think you'll finally know exactly how low they can go. I love you guys. Come back and join me next time, and we will continue to evolve together.